Well, welcome to the Core77 Speculative Concepts Awards jury. We have been having a very interesting discussion. My name is Alexandra Daisy Ginsberg, and I'm a designer, artist, and writer working in the area of speculative design and critical design. And I'm joined today by a wonderful jury. We've had an excellent discussion. I'll let them introduce themselves.
So hello, I'm Ghislaine Boddington. I work as a creative director, researcher and curator for Body Data Space, and my expertise is in digital body technologies and the futurology of how we work with our bodies into this new digital world.
I'm James Auger. I'm a tutor and researcher at the Royal College of Art. I also collaborate with another designer, Jimmy Loiseau, also practicing like Daisy in the field of speculative design.
Hi, I'm Michelle Potter. I work as a curator and researcher, and I'm currently a senior research fellow at the Victorian Albert Museum. My focus is on design futures and design in emerging economies, and yeah, I think that's it.
Hello, I'm Jan Boele. I'm Artistic Director of Z33, curating exhibitions and also head of the program Social Design at the Design Academy in Eindhoven.
So we have spent the day going through all of the entries for the Speculative Concepts Awards, and a lot of the discussion that came up, a really difficult discussion about what is speculative design or speculative concepts in this context of the awards. And we really saw kind of a lot of differences between different kinds of entries, and I think that coming up with definitions was something that was really important for us. So, I mean, between the jury members, I think we talked a lot about different kinds of roles of design, if anyone wants to.
Yeah, I think this field of the design is emerging and evolving, and we felt the need, I think, that the projects really should have a real relation with the world and should have an impact, an implication, a consequence, and that designers have to take a certain responsibility. So it's not just about creating another narrative, another nice image for the world. That's nice, but also what are the consequences?
And I think, I mean, something that we also talked about was kind of timeframes, and actually kind of thinking about design in a much more expanded responsibility and role. So not just about products that haven't yet been realized, or not just speculative designs that kind of probe near futures, but thinking about much, really sort of bending the way we think about the world and how design sits into it, whether that's in terms of social responsibility or temporal responsibility. I think those were categories that came up with the entries.
Because one thing this competition does do is bring together kind of commercial or commercially orientated innovation projects with projects that are much more based on alternative narratives of the future, that really are about debate and debating the ideas of inherited futures. So bringing those together made it a really interesting discussion for us in terms of, you know, what's viable. Is it a kind of object of debate, or is it something that seems viable in the current market?
I found this in the student projects, that issue or that thing of time, where we have a notable mention and we have a runner-up. I think, like you were saying, speculation, of course, has to do something it's about talking about time and time frames, and especially in the different approaches. So especially in the student category, there was like a very nice two projects that were from different perspectives, looking to what time really can mean. And one is the Bolton Legacy project that spans a time frame of more than 400 years, or our own lifespan in iCalendar. And these two projects are not only speculating about our own life, but also how kind of evolutions are in fact connected with with time itself. And
So for me, the strength of these two projects, particularly the iCalendar, I suppose, talk about more complex notions of people and understanding. The idea of time is a very individual thing. The idea of death is a very individual thing. This is the other project that springs to mind is the Unhappiness Recorder, which talks about different roles for designers, an expanded view of design where we're not just creating these glossy products that satisfy simple needs, but really delving into what happiness means and exploring how we use existing products and making interventions in quite creative and interesting but lo-fi ways. So that it's really worth looking at the video because it exemplifies for me this more responsible and expanded notion of design and the designer.
And that leads quite well into looking at the projects, not so many of them that really looked at the behavioural side of design, and the other notable, which was SimPlay, the future of medical simulation, which actually is a convergence of various tools which will be used on an online platform, but also for debriefing post-surgery operations, using motion tracking, using visualization of communication. So particularly focusing, rather than on the technical aspects of the training or the debriefing, on the actual behavioural aspects within the team. And it did feel that these four in the student side particularly had put the thinking about the person or a group of people at the centre, the core of the projects. And certain projects which just didn't work hadn't thought about that from the beginning. They hadn't thought about the user, the context of the person or the group that they were making something for within a real world environment.
What I find nice about these four projects is that they all are shifting the definition of design and the role of the design itself.
So I think that's for us, that was also really important with the student projects, was to not give a single definition of what speculative concepts or speculative design could be, but actually show this kind of much broader way of thinking about it. And also to say there's still lots of space to develop these projects further, and a lot of them all kind of point at people's practice moving forward. So those were the four student awards, so two notables for SimPlay, the future of medical simulation, and notable for iCalendar, and joint runners-up of the Unhappiness Repairer and the Botham Legacy. So I hope. So
it might be worth pointing out that there is no clear winner, and there's a good reason for this. We did feel that there wasn't an exemplary speculative design project in this category, and for that reason we didn't award one.
But we are excited to see lots of these projects develop further, and that's actually what's really nice about all of them is they all show they are ongoing. I think it looks like all those people will take that work forward. So congratulations to our student winners. And we move on to the professional category now. Also very challenging space for us all, where we had a lot of really great discussion today about this. And I think if we start with how we sort of, professional practice and speculative design is more challenging when you have a client or have to actually work out how this work fits into the world. And that was what was exciting in the professional category. We're seeing very different approaches and spaces. So we start with the runner-up, or first runner-up of our two runners-up, which, who's going to mention?
Ethical things, are you doing? Ethical things.
Yes.
Yeah. And so to follow through on ethical things, we've got a project which I think, Daisy, you were going to chat about. Yeah, so it's all right, it's fine.
Over to me. So ethical things is really interesting because it's pointing to a whole new space around how we think about the role of algorithms and the ethical role of algorithms in a future where there seems to be an increasingly crucial part of our interaction with the world. So we hear a lot about self-driving cars and the kind of utopian side of all these technologies which know our every move. And the designers behind this project are exploring how these kinds of objects are not autonomous or entirely mechanical, but really are powered by people, in terms of the designers who build the algorithms that make the decisions behind these objects. So we were really excited by this project because it is opening up a whole new space for inquiry.
Algorithms are not neutral.
Exactly. So in a self-driving car, who decides how it functions? And this project was for a fan, which has to decide who to cool in a room. And the designers have actually used non-mechanical Turks, so real people in other locations, to make that decision based on information that they can't see. So they know maybe what, in this instance, one person is thin, one person not, who should be cooled. So it's incredibly provocative, but actually is a really important space that needs further inquiry. So we were really excited to see where that moves forward as well. And then our other runner-up, who's going to...
Well, that was James was going to talk about the plant
I wasn't
set.
going to talk about plant set. that was your plant set.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, it's, I'm talking about... This was slightly controversial in that it could be viewed as a slightly facile or overindulgent, provocative project, provocative for the sake of it, so why speculate on such things? But shifting the emphasis, we're obviously, and the notion of sex toys is quite enticing and controversial, but shifting the emphasis onto plants and looking at the needs of plants as they reproduce, it actually is quite a sneaky and interesting way of communicating how nature works. Beyond that, the objects were very exquisitely designed, the photographs very aesthetic, very interesting, the installation was very beautiful. So it's really a lovely way into communicating nature and the way nature operates. One of the big discussions that we've had across a lot of the projects is, are they speculative? The problem that we have in this field, in this discipline, is it's moving, it's constantly evolving, and the boundaries and the borders are very blurred. So I think all of the projects we've selected somehow challenge these borders and have us questioning what speculative design is and what's its purpose. This project about the plant, they really introduced the purpose and at an early stage to be talking about communication and reproduction in nature, but through this kind of quite creative way. So it's a provocative one, but we think it was worthy of award.
Agree.
Yep.
Which leaves us to the winner of the professional category. And over to you, Shah.
This was actually quite an unanimous decision. We were all extremely excited about this project, which is called the Museum of Future Government. And the idea of it is that it's a kind of like a microcosm of a city that exists within an exhibition space. It's actually being supplanted into the government summit in the UAE. And the idea is that people who are policymakers can move through an experiential version of an alternative future and shift their ideas and policy based on that. And so this really goes back to what James was talking about, this idea of being very interested in projects that are speculative and do deal with the imagination, but also have real world implications. And this for us was a super exciting kind of avenue for where speculative design can really make an impact on the world. So another thing that was really great about this project is that it involved a number of designers. So the concept of the project itself was directed by one company, but within the speculative space, a number of designers have been represented. So it was really a kind of maybe collaborative future space. Yeah. So I think this kind of planted it quite firmly in the world of professional practice and speculative design, answering to a brief, having real world implications.
Voilà.
It's good.
Congratulations to everybody.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who submitted work, and it's been a real pleasure to review it all and to discuss and argue about it, because there was a lot of amazing work out there. So thank you for submitting to Core77, and this was the Speculative Concepts jury.
Thank you.
Thank you.